Welcome back to this episode of the Mayoral Podcast, everybody. I am your host, Matt Mayer. Before I get into today's content, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share with friends and family if you like the content you've seen here today. So, last week, there was the final GOP primary debate. And it really depends on where you watch. If you watch like the mainstream news, including like Fox News, they say like DeSantis or Haley won. A lot of people online feel that Vivek won. And it's really kind of funny, and you know, ultimately I don't think it really matters. I can't see a path to which you would see any one of these candidates beat Donald Trump, even if they consolidated everything and it was just either DeSantis against Trump or Haley against Trump, because those two seem to have, by polling averages, the most support in the field. Even then, there's just too much support for Trump. I think that it's going to be very hard to see anyone actually beat Donald Trump. But that said, I'm going to play this clip. It is going around. It went viral. It's one of the best clips from the debate. And this is Vivek Ramaswamy essentially calling out the fake news media and the Republican Party itself. So here's Vivek.
On in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, I mean, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Roberts.
This is how we get our country back. We need accountability because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to Governor Christie.
So Vivek coming out swinging in the debate, calling out not only the fake news media, but calling out the RNC. And I think rightfully so. I think a lot of people felt what Vivek was saying. And you look at Kristen Welker, and he's absolutely right. He's got they have this on NBC, whether people believe it or not, a left-wing network, and they wouldn't hire Greg Gutfeld to host a debate. He's absolutely right about that. They wouldn't hire Tucker Carlson to host the debate, but yet the Republican Party decides that they're going to have these NBC anchors hosting the debate. So it's really quite astonishing and good for Vivek for calling it out. You can debate on who won. I'm not going to spend too much time on it just because I ultimately don't think it matters. I mean, you see the polling, and you can take polling with a grain of salt, but my God, Trump is trouncing the field right now. It's looking like it's going to be a Trump-Biden rematch for 2024. Whether you like it or not, that's pretty much the reality of the situation that we're living in. So this was interesting here. This was a fact check. NBC, speaking of fake news, NBC, fact checking the third Republican primary debate. And it goes on and covers all these fact checks here, blah, blah, blah. The one that I want to call the attention to is, did DeSantis evacuate Americans out of Israel? So they call it a half-truth. And it says, on October 12th, DeSantis signed an executive order that allowed the Florida Division of Emergency Management to pay for Americans in Israel to fly back to the United States. The flights, however, were organized by the Tampa-based nonprofit group Project Dynamo, which specializes in rescuing Americans in distress. And DeSantis' primary role was to fund the flights. And it says, continues on to say, about 1,500 Americans did leave Israel with the help of the U.S. government. U.S. citizens were responsible for paying for the government flights. when DeSantis footed the bill for his flights. So I don't know what they're trying to say here when he said that he evacuated, like that he didn't actually fly the plane himself, like he funded it. They're going to give credit to the U.S. government for what? They didn't even fund it. So they're going to give credit to the federal government more so than DeSantis for actually paying for it out of their own budget to get U.S. citizens out of Israel. So I mean, these fact checks are just out of control, and they've been out of control for a long time. But this was one of the ones that was kind of one of the more egregious ones. It's half true. No, he funded the withdrawal of American citizens from Israel. I don't get what else would he have done that would say like, oh, it was completely true. Did he have to fly the plane himself? Like, give me a break, NBC idiots. And then you saw Vivek in the debate talking about how we got trounced in the 2023 election. Now, there wasn't too many things that were out there, but this is kind of a breakdown of what you saw. Election results timeline, I kind of highlighted there in red the Republican wins, and in blue the Democrat wins. To break it down, there was 10 Democrat, 6 Republican, and you see the yellow one that was somebody who's an independent. I don't know anything about this. Lily Wu, for mayor of Wichita, Kansas. She could lean left or right. I don't know anything really about her. But some of the highlights, the governor race in Mississippi, the incumbent Tate Reeves maintained his seat as governor of Mississippi. The Democrats won partisan control of Virginia House of Delegates. Democrats retained partisan control of the Virginia State Senate. So again, two wins there in Virginia. And then another statewide race, you had the surprising Democrat governor of Kentucky winning his re-election campaign there. So it wasn't really too much to write home about for Republicans. There were some wins on there, but a lot of those were in deep red states. Nothing too shocking at all. Where they had some ground, they lost it in some of these states, and really, a lot of it has to do with messaging and some of the stuff that was on the ballot. The biggest one was here in Ohio. There was the abortion amendment to add it to the Constitution. Now, this was a citizen-led ballot measure. It did pass 56.6 to 43.4. So that is going to be, unfortunately, enshrined into the Ohio State Constitution. And again, just another big loss for Republicans, kind of across the board. So when you see people like Vivek talk about how we've become the party of losing, he's not wrong. We haven't won very many elections. I know that Republicans won the House back in 2022, but they barely won it. They also managed to lose a Senate seat in the process. So instead of a 50-50 Senate, it is now a 51-49 in favor of Democrats. I know there's 3 independents, but they caucus with the Democrats. So really it's 51-49. And then you see this. This is from Joe Manchin. I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna cut it up and tell you what I think is going on here with Joe Manchin. And you, while you're watching this, ask yourself, what do you think that this guy is saying? What is he going to do kind of moving forward? So here's Joe Manchin announcing that he is no longer going to run for re-election in the state of West Virginia for Senate in 2024.
When I told my dad that I was going to run for office, he said, "Oh, Joe, politics is a bad business. I'm telling you right now, stay out of it." I didn't disagree that often with my father, but that time I did. I reminded him of the famous line from President John F. Kennedy's inaugural address. "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." I was 13 when I first heard it, and I'm still inspired today by it. My family were devoted Catholics who immigrated from Italy and Czechoslovakia. So to us, President Kennedy was held in the highest regard, and I knew President Kennedy's words would sway my dad. It took him about a minute, but my dad said that he would support me running if I made a vow to serve all the people, friend or foe, and not just myself. I've never cared about where good ideas came from, and I never blame one side for creating a problem, nor believed that only one side could fix them. When America is at her best, we get things done by putting country before party, working across the aisle and finding common ground. Many times this approach has landed me in hot water, but the fight to unite has been well worth it. After months of deliberation and long conversation with my family, I believe in my heart of hearts that I have accomplished what I set out to do for West Virginia. I have made one of the toughest decisions of my life and decided that I will not be running for re-election to the United States Senate. But what I will be doing is traveling the country and speaking out to see if there is an interest in creating a movement to mobilize the middle and bring Americans together.
So to me, hearing him talk, I think of a few things. First thing is, clearly he's not done in politics. He says he's going to travel the country and look to see if he can unite people in the middle. Now, to me, I read that as he is potentially looking to run as a third party. Now, Kennedy is already on the ticket as an independent, or is going to be on the ticket as an independent. Now, can you have another independent in Joe Manchin? I don't necessarily think that that's going to work. So my thought is, especially the praise he gave Kennedy's uncle, John F. Kennedy, I think that he might be looking to get some type of position within Kennedy's campaign and maybe even be his running mate. Now, there is talk that I've heard people say something about running as a no labels ticket, which is essentially an independent. So I don't see what the big difference between that and what Kennedy is doing would be, other than there are people out there claiming that he could pair up with like Mitt Romney, who's not going to run for re-election in 2024 as well in Utah, and they could do a kind of split Democrat-Republican ticket. I don't know who would be the top of the ticket, whether it be Manchin or Romney. Romney's already run and won the Republican nomination. Obviously, he lost to Barack Obama back then. So I don't know what they would realistically be looking to do in that type of scenario and who they would really think that they would get votes from, but I mean, I wouldn't count that out. I just think the way that I read that is I find him more likely to end up as a potential running mate with RFK Jr. than end up on a ticket with someone like Mitt Romney. I don't necessarily think that that's going to be the path that he takes forward. So what does that mean for 2024? Well, Virginia was a state that was already going to lean Republican, even with the incumbent Democrat, just because it's so far red. And I think a lot of people in that state have kind of grown tired of Joe Manchin. Now, he might have had a better chance to win on an off-election year like he did last time in 2018 with Trump not on the ticket. Presumably, Trump's going to be on the ticket in 2024, and that is going to potentially spell disaster for Manchin. His most likely competition would be Jim Justice, who is the current governor of West Virginia. It's going to be hard to beat somebody who already won statewide election a couple of times, and I think he just kind of saw the writing on the wall that he wasn't going to win re-election in 2024. So get out before he kind of gets pushed out of office was maybe his stance. But that said, West Virginia has no shot to go to Democrats now, and you kind of see that in the breakdown. You look at the amount of Senate seats that we have available in the 2024 election, and you could see 38 Republicans do not have an election. So that means there's only 11 seats that are Republican seats that are up, and for Democrats, there are 28 seats that have no election, which means when they have 51, that is 23 seats are up for election in 2024. Now, some of these are pretty safely Democrat, but you can see that by the coloration of the map, they have 3 true toss-ups, or what they're counting as 3 true toss-ups. One is in Montana. There's a Democrat incumbent there. However, it's a very red state, and it's an election year, a general election year, and Trump, presumably being on the ticket, would drive up that vote for the Republican. I think that one at least leans more Republican than Democrat, more than a toss-up. It is hard to beat incumbents, though. That's one of the kind of general rules. Is when you have an incumbent, it is a little bit more difficult. Same holds true in Ohio. Sherrod Brown is up. That is a very Trump-friendly state. It doesn't favor Sherrod Brown that this is going to be an election cycle that's presumably going to have Trump on the ticket, and Trump won Ohio by 8 points each of the last 2 elections in 2016 and in 2020. So it's going to be hard for Brown, I think, to drum up that type of support that is going to be counter to Trump support, that people are going to split that ticket. I don't necessarily see that happen. I think that that's a pretty solid lean Republican as well. Arizona is going to be up in the air. Obviously, Trump won in 2016. He lost it in 2020. Kristen Sinema is an independent, so there's going to be 3 candidates that can win on that ticket. It's going to be a Democrat, a Republican, and an independent, and the incumbent is an independent. Who knows where that's going to go? I said that's a true toss-up. And then you got other states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada. All those states have a potential. They are lean Democrat, but they are a potential for Republicans to pick up those seats. So, I mean, you could see a huge wave of Republicans picking up seats in 2024. Now, I wouldn't count on that. That didn't happen in 2022. Maybe they'll run some better candidates, and maybe Trump will help pull some of these people over the finish line if he comes back and wins states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona. It's possible, but there are some legitimate chance that the Republicans pick up a good amount of seats in the 2024 election. We'll keep an eye on that. I'll keep you updated on my thought process, and anything comes with any type of breaking news or anything that might change the outlook of the 2024 Senate tilt. So, last topic here for today is this AP story, and this has kind of been all over the news recently, and it says FBI seizes phones, iPad from New York Mayor Eric Adams in escalation of fundraising investigation. This is pretty insane to me that they're going after this guy. Look, I don't know if this guy did anything illegal. I don't know anything about this, but it is very peculiar timing that he comes out against the Biden administration and their border policy after New York is being overrun by migrants. And there's that video, I've played it before, of him coming out and saying, this is unsustainable. We can't sustain this level of illegal immigrants. He subsequently afterwards ended up going south of the border, going to a couple different countries, and really kind of assessing the situation. He spent 4 days in Latin America back in October, trying to figure out like what it is that he can potentially do to reduce the migrant crisis. And, you know, this is a quote from him. He says, was it successful 100%? I don't know that. We are not going to know if someone is going to hear the voice of the city say you are not coming to a 5-star hotel. I'm hoping they did, but I have to try everything to help this city deal with the crisis that we are facing. So, again, I think these people are under the false impression that they're going to go to New York and live this like glamorous lifestyle that the U.S. taxpayers are going to have to pay. Eric Adams was trying to kind of squash that, and he's come out openly against the policies that are leading to the downfall of New York City with the migrant crisis. And surprise, surprise, the FBI is raiding him 2 months later. So, is it possible they had this in their back pocket the whole time? Yeah, it's possible. Is it possible that they were investigating this and they aren't just using this to weaponize against a Democratic mayor who is going against the Biden administration stance on immigration? It's possible, but the timing is very interesting. So we'll see what happens here, but this is something that, you know, like I don't want to speculate. I don't want to speculate exactly what's going on. But to me, on the surface, when I see this guy coming out against the Biden administration a couple of times, and then all of a sudden the FBI is raiding him, and like this guy's now somewhat becoming an opponent of the Biden administration. He's already done this against Trump. His DOJ has gone after Trump multiple times, and people are going to justify that. They're going to justify this. And maybe this guy did something wrong, and maybe he deserves to be investigated, and maybe there is a crime there. But the timing is very interesting, to say the least. So we'll keep an eye on that. If anything major develops in the story, I will certainly cover it in future episodes. That's it for this episode of the Mayoral Podcast. Please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, share with friends and family if you like the content you've seen here today, and I will see you all in the next video.